So welcome to Connect and Access. We're thrilled to have you join us in this collaborative space. It's specifically designed for educators and the statewide system of support partners from across the state. And so we provide this monthly opportunity. It's all about fostering connections, sharing valuable resources, and offering support as we work towards improving educational outcomes for all students. Today, we are excited to welcome our guests from SIL, System Improvement Leads. The purpose of the SIL project is to work collaboratively within the statewide system of support to build the capacity of SELPAs and LEAs with a common goal to improve outcomes for students with disabilities. My name is Lori Balsano-Wright, and I serve as the coordinator for the Open Access Project, which is associated with the Placer County Office of Education and Placer County SELPA. I would like to introduce those on the call today. We have Leah Padilla, who is the other coordinator with Open Access. We are honored to have Ashley McGavin and Sarah Gallagher from SIL here with us today. Ashley is a coordinator with the project, and Sarah is an improvement facilitator. So welcome, and thank you for being here today.
And at Open Access, we have a strong belief in accessibility. And so this is our accessibility promise. And we just want to share a few strategies that we use to make our presentations as accessible as possible. So you'll notice there are simple backgrounds with high contrast text. Also in the chat is the tiny URL, and there's also the QR code so you can access the slides. And feel free to unmute or ask questions as we go through our presentation today. And then at Open Access, we are a statewide special education resource lead, and we are based in the foundational belief that with access to quality curriculum and instruction, all students can actively participate, engage, and learn in inclusive settings. So we have a link to our website and our one-pager. So please check those out and reach out if you have any universal design for learning, assistive technology, or alternative augmentative communication needs. And I am going to pass it over to our partners. I'm going to stop sharing quick.
All right. Thank you, Leah and Lori. And thank you for joining us this morning. As was already shared, my name is Ashley McGavin. I'm a coordinator with the System Improvement Leads Project, and I'm joined by my colleague, Sarah Gallagher, and we will be telling you about one of our key resources and tools, the Improvement Data Center, commonly known as the IDC. So I'm going to start my share and begin our walkthrough. What we are hoping to share with you today is just kind of some frequently asked questions, some tips, ways to help you access and navigate. But before that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are, System Improvement Leads, and we are a project within the statewide system of support. We're a partner project with Open Access, and we consist of several organizations: Riverside County SELPA, which is where Sarah and I work out of, and we partner with El Dorado County Office of Education and El Dorado County SELPA. And we work directly in partnership with California Department of Ed and California Collaborative for Educational Excellence. Our work is really centered around building capacity of LEAs, county offices of education, SELPAs, really through partnering with our state agencies, CDE, CCEE, to build capacity in several areas. One area being data best practices. That's really where we're going to focus what we're sharing today. Also, we build capacity in the area of continuous improvement, as well as high leverage change ideas. And ultimately, our goal is to provide more equitable opportunities for students with disabilities to improve post-secondary success. Okay, so let's start out with a pretty basic question. What is the IDC? And I am kind of curious if anyone on this call has experience with the IDC. If you've used it, you know what it is. Just drop a yes in the chat so we get a feel of who's in the room. Okay, I see one yes. And if you haven't dove into the IDC or used it before, you're in the right place. And if you have, you're also in the right place. So the IDC is really a suite of tools, and there's two components to the IDC. And one side of it is this SPPI dashboard, which we're going to walk you through that today. And that contains publicly released information for all LEAs in California. California Department of Education releases and posts this information on their website. And and it really is like that report card of how districts are doing in delivering on the promise and the requirements of IDEA. So we'll take a look at that. That's available. The other side of the IDC is the local educational agency or LEA tools. And there's several tools there that I'll talk about, but these are really designed for districts to dig into their data, understand it more, work on different areas, data quality, analyzing their data. So we'll talk about that, but I want to start by sharing the first part, which is the SPPI dashboard. Like I said, state performance plan indicator data is here. That's released annually by California Department of Ed. And there's also annual performance reports that are released here as well. So that can be found on the first side. This is really designed to increase access for districts, families, community members, increasing that transparency in sharing special education data. Our LEA tools on the other side, those tools that are designed to support districts in better understanding their data, increasing data quality, consists of three tools. We're not going to focus there today. Today, we're going to focus on SPPI dashboard and LEA data drill down, but just want you to know they're here. And if you ever want support or questions, we'll show you how to get in contact with us. So there's a basics tool. If your district or organization has gone through the SIM process, supported districts with the SIM process, this probably looks familiar. But it is a tool for analyzing the basic infrastructure of your special education system. There's a self-assessment. It generates a report. There's also the data quality toolkit, which is another interactive analysis tool that includes a self-assessment, generates a report, gives some action steps to really guide districts in analyzing all aspects of their data quality, system and design, data governance, use. So it's a great tool. And then we have the data drill down, which really pairs nicely with the SBPI dashboard because districts are able to upload their current data and analyze snapshot reports and key indicator areas such as disproportionality, least restricted environment. So we get that historical data in the SPPI dashboard, and our data drill down gives us current information in regards to how are we doing as a district right now. Okay, so I told you what's in the IDC, but let's talk about how do you access the Improvement Data Center. So the Improvement Data Center can be found on the System Improvement Leads website, systemimprovement.org. And feel free if you would like, I mean, it's up to you if you'd like to follow along, you can watch. You can type that into your browser, whatever you're comfortable with. But just know you have the slides. And if you don't remember how to navigate there after this presentation, there are visual cues and prompts in the slide screenshots to help you navigate back there. So we're going to visit systemimprovement.org. I would encourage you to also just visit this site regularly as well, because we are a grant-funded project. All of our resources and professional learning opportunities are offered at no cost. So, check out our resources page, check out our professional learning page as well. But for this morning's purposes, we are visiting this Improvement Data Center. So systemimprovement.org, Improvement Data Center. And again, you saw that landing page. We have our two options, SPPI dashboard or LEA tools. And we're going to start by looking at that State Performance Plan Indicator SPPI dashboard. And what's great here is you can navigate, because this is publicly available information, to look at any LEA in California. So you either can select charter if it's a charter school, or district if it's a district, like a, unified district. You first pick your reporting level, and then you select your organization. Right here you see a demo district. So we use when we present and share. But you select which organization you would like to view, district or charter, and the name in that drop down. And there's two things you can see here on the dashboard. One is the state performance plan indicators. There's a drop down to select the year. The most publicly available, recently released data is 23-24, which when we go live, you'll see that. And then there's also a listing where you can access all of the annual performance reports as well for that district. This is demo data, so that's why that's blocked out. But if you're looking for a specific district, you will see that you can click there and then download that to see just that static report. But this gives you those indicators and a nice, some data visualizations, which I'll show you shortly. But let's go live so I can show you how to get there and show you the interactive features of the dashboard as well. And I do want to mention, if there's any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat along the way, and I'll be sure to address those questions as they come up. So here is our site, systemimprovement.org. To access the Improvement Data Center, we're going to click here at the top. We're going to look at State Performance Plan Indicator Dashboard. And as you can see, it's demo, System Improvement Unified, but I have that drop down here, and I can take a look at district. I can look at charter. You'll see there's some other options here. There's SELPA, there's county, that provides like an overview, like an average. If you're looking, let's say you're working for a county office or a SELPA and you're kind of just curious, like average of all the districts within your SELPA or county office, you can select these. But we're going to look at district, and this is the data for our demo district. You get the drop down here, so you can select the year, which is nice. So currently the most recently available data is 23-24 from the previous year, because we're still in 24-25. And on the dashboard, you can see some key some key symbols here. And this orange X indicates the target was not met. A blue check means the target was met. And then if there was a grayed out box, it means not applicable. For example, if this was a high school district, they would have a grayed out bar for preschool data because they don't have preschool students or programs. So that's where you'll see that. Or sometimes with charter schools or very small LEAs, the student count might be too low to maintain student data confidentiality. And then that's where you would see a grayed out bar as well. If we click on one of these indicators, we get this nice data visualization. So if you all are familiar with looking at annual performance reports, previously, like you would go on CDE's site, you would have to download and then scroll to find your district, and you would get like one data point. The great thing here is we can see that data charted over time, which really helps to look for trends, observations, to see, have we missed the target for the past 5 years? Are we increasing? Are we decreasing? What's really happening? So that's a really nice feature of this tool. There's also some guiding questions below to help guide some of the data conversation. If you're looking at this with your team, you can also see the chart data. Sometimes people are like, I just want to see the numbers listed as well. So there's that option. And then you can also export the chart image. You have a meeting, maybe you want to print those out and share. So a lot of really good options. Another really nice feature here too is learn more about. So on each of these, there's a handout that's linked. It's the State Performance Plan Indicator Guide. and it provides a handout on each sub-indicator, which is super helpful because it tells you like, well, how is this indicator calculated? What's the data source? What is it? So a lot of scaffolds built into the tool to help with reviewing and then analyzing this data as well. So that's one component. And the other side, like I said, there's no data here for annual performance reports, but if you are looking at an actual district, and it's publicly available data, so you can pull up any district in California, and you can click here to download. You can also do an APR search. So again, if you're like county office or SELPA, you can type in the name and then get a listing of the annual performance reports for the districts within your county office or your SELPA as well. So some really good information that can be found here. Would definitely encourage you to dig in there and take a look for your district, or if you support districts, pulling up that information and looking through as well. You get historical info, which is helpful as you're looking for trends, and seeing, are we trending in the right direction? Are we not? But I am going to pause there to see if there's any questions coming through in the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing anything coming through. Oh, Troy, I'm so glad you asked that question. When is this updated? So this is updated when CDE releases the annual performance report, or sorry, the state performance, two things. So CDE publicly releases the state performance plan indicator data, and they publicly release the annual performance reports on their website. When they publicly release the data, that's when this is updated. So 23-24 was updated. It was released in the fall. 24-25, we're still in it. So I can't give a definite time, but it will be released. I'm not really sure it'll be released, but after the year ends. But it is publicly released. So as soon as CDE releases it, then it's updated in this dashboard as well. Okay, any other questions? Okay. With that, I am going to stop my share. And I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, who's going to walk us through the LEA data drill down, as well as some frequently asked questions about that tool.
All right. Thanks, Ashley. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Ashley and I really spend a lot of time thinking about the IDC, supporting the IDC, updating it. And so we are always very excited to share. I'm going to bring up the slides. And are y'all seeing the slide that says LEA data drill down?
Yes, we can see that,
Okay.
Sarah.
Perfect. I'm on a new setup, and so I'm always afraid, am I sharing the right screen? Okay, excellent. So as Ashley mentioned, there are multiple components that are available within the Improvement Data Center. Today, we're just highlighting the SPPI dashboard and the LEA data drill down. So for those of you who have gone through compliance and improvement monitoring, you may have had an opportunity to interact with this tool. Sometimes folks use it for other reasons, but that's probably the most common time. And if you haven't used it before, I'm really excited to get to show you a little bit about it. It's a really powerful tool that provides a lot of valuable information for your districts. And so accessing it, we are going to be in that LEA tools menu that Ashley showed you. And we're looking at this bottom piece here where it says the LEA data drill down. I think everything's advancing. All right, so within this tool, it allows you to create snapshot reports using your LEA's data. So whereas the SPPI dashboard uses those publicly available data when they are released annually, the LEA data drill down uses your CalPADS reports to give you real-time information about what is going on in your district. And so it really allows you to dig deeply into your status on some of those state performance plan indicators. And I'll show you a little bit about what we mean by that. And then we'll talk through some of the questions that we often receive around access. So what's fun about the data drill down is that it allows you to disaggregate your data in multiple different ways. So it's going to allow you to look at your status on something like your least restrictive environment, but then you're going to get detailed visualizations that allow you to look at what does that look like with our race and ethnicity groups? What does that look like with the primary disability code? What does it look like across gender, grade level, the schools within your district, the students' socioeconomic status, their English language learner status, all of these different areas that when we look at them all together, we can get a much more, just a more robust picture of what is going on. So these visualizations exist for a lot of the state performance plan indicators, but they don't exist for every single one. And so the list that you see here, these are the LEA snapshot reports that you are able to create. So the disproportionality indicator, least restrictive environment, discipline, your preschool least restrictive environment, the timely eligibility evaluation, and parent involvement. So there are some, for example, like graduation rate that are just very complicated to produce. And so we don't have access to those now, perhaps in the future. But this is a lot of information. Just going through all these reports will take you a good amount of time. So very often, a question that we get is who activates these accounts and who manages these accounts? So unlike the state performance plan indicator dashboard where the information is public, the LEA data drill down is using your district's private confidential information, and therefore it is the LEA who activates and manages these accounts. And so we provide the platform, but the LEAs will go in and activate their account, and then the account administrator will manage all of the data and all of the access and whatnot so that it remains confidential to the districts and who they choose to share it with. This is a question we answer multiple times a day, and so we're happy to be able to share it here in this forum. So in terms of how you can access the LEA's data drill down, or maybe you have an account, but you need to share access with new folks who are coming into the work, I'm going to show you. So with this, when you create your account, you're going to create it with your email address, and you're going to select either Google or Microsoft, depending on the platform that you use. And then that's always how you'll be able to access it. You don't need to generate a password. You just need to sign in with the email that you created the account with. And then when you sign in, if you see this open padlock, you have an account, and that's just allowing you to access it. If the padlock that you see there is in the closed position, it means that either you don't have an account for your district or you personally don't have access. And so you can see here, this is our demo district. And so yes, we have access to that account. And once we are in the account, there is a control panel at the top in that menu bar. And the control panel is how you are going to be able to share access with other folks. It's how you are going to be able to upload your CalPADS data. Sometimes people upload reports regularly in order to track progress. And so in that case, you're using that control panel feature. Once you are in the control panel, you can click this Manage User Access under the Authorization tab, and that will allow you to add other users. What's nice about the access sharing is that you have multiple options depending on who you're sharing with. So for example, if I am sharing with my CalPads support person from my district, because I need them to help me get the reports in there, there's a data level access that you would select, and that allows that person who has that level of access to upload those files. There is a more general user level access, and that just allows those users to view the files. And then there's the administrator level access, which is typically a special education director who has that access, and they're the ones who are able to add other folks. I'm just going to pause and see if there are any questions, clarification, or otherwise. And we're a pretty small group, so you can use the chat, but you're also welcome to unmute and ask.
Sarah, this is Troy. I do have a quick question. So the names listed to get access are no longer with our district. So would I check with my current CalPads person?
So you mean for your account, whoever the administrator is no longer with the district?
Yes, there was two names. One is a former special ed director. The other person I don't recognize.
Gotcha. Okay. In that case, if there's an access question, we'll show you later the help feature where you can submit a ticket for support, because that specific problem, like the owner of the account is no longer with the district. We have a specific route for solving that for you, and I'll show you the help. There's a help feature, and you'll have to submit a ticket so that on the back end, someone can remove that person who's no longer there.
Thank you.
But good question. Another one that comes up often as folks are moving in between sites and whatnot. Okay. So in terms of how to generate these reports, I mentioned that you're using CalPads data. And so I want to show you specifically what that looks like. So you will give someone data access, and they will upload the CalPads reports that you see here. As of right now, there are 9 reports. Most of the LEA snapshot reports can be generated with those first 7 files that you see there. CalPads folks love acronyms, even more than special ed folks, I feel like. And so they don't mean a lot to folks who don't work specifically with CalPads, but if you are running the least restrictive environment, timely eligibility, almost any of them, you're going to be using those first 7. If you are running the discipline snapshot reports, those require 2 additional files, the student incident results and the student offense file. And so, like I said, they will upload those extracts. Once they are uploaded, they remain confidential to the folks that have been given access. And in terms of how you get those data into the system, once you have activated the account, you're going to go back to that control panel, and the second tab down is data. And when you click on that manage organizational data, it allows you to just drag and drop the files right into there. We do recommend, sorry. Oh, I've activated a pen feature. I was just trying to go back with my slides. Okay, I was going to say, we do recommend that when you download those CalPads reports, before you upload them into the platform, that you're careful with your naming conventions. So some folks like to use this regularly, so they might download them initially for the SIM process, but then quarterly before their SIM progress reports, they want to run a new set and see, has there been any change, for example, with our discipline or our least restrictive environment. And so if you name them very clearly with the file name, but also the date range, that will allow you to look at multiple reports, but making sure that you're using the same date range, if that makes sense. Alrighty, so I'm going to show you what these reports look like. They're really fun, and there are some data visualizations that I think maybe people haven't seen before if they haven't used the data drill down. So I'm going to show you what that looks like.
Sarah, there was a question in the chat about the data and I answered it in the chat, but I just was gonna speak to it real quick. Jason asked, can the SIRS and the SOFF be updated monthly? It seems to get errors. And that's a really good question. So the other snapshot, or the files for the snapshot reports, the CalPADS files, you can pull those more frequently. But the two discipline files, the SIRS and the SOFF, are end of year reports. So those are only updated once a year. And that error, like if you're trying to re-upload those, is you're getting a duplicate file error because it's the same data. So that's what's happening there. So those two are only, it's end of year. So that just is updated annually. That would not be one that you would update monthly.
Yeah, and thank you for that. That was a silly example to use because, of course, you can't do that one regularly. It was just the first word that came out of my brain. But thank you for the question and for the clarification. Okay, so like we saw before, you're going to go to systemimprovement.org and navigate to the Improvement Data Center. We're now going to be over here on the LEA tools side. And if I click on the LEA data drill down, we have the same option to select, are we looking for a district or a charter? And then we'll type in the name of the organization. So here we're using our demo district, which is System Improvement Unified. I already have access to this account and it's activated. And so the padlock is open. And then I'll click on the View Reports button. And you can see here the available visualizations. So I'm going to show you all the least restrictive environment. I'm going to click on the View Recent Reports. And then I have the drop down for each CalPADS file. And again, that's because some folks upload regularly. And so in this case, I only have one recent set to choose from. So I'm going to select for each of those.
And I just want to emphasize something here, is that in order for this report to run, you do need to select files from the same date range.
Yes.
So for example, if you had data uploaded for 23, 24, and we recommend that when you upload, you do label it, each of those files, it all needs to be from that same range. Otherwise, if you, let's say I pull in a file from a different set, like I've got 21, 22, I've got 23, 24. If you go to run that report, it's just going to be blank. It's going to be 0. So sometimes people will encounter that and be like, oh, what's going on? The report's not working. But actually, it's just because the data it's from a different date range, it's a different set.
Okay. Yeah, so that's where the naming of the files is really handy. If you only have one set in there, it won't matter. But when folks like to come back to it, then you're going to really need those date ranges in there so that we can actually generate our reports. So I am going to click here. I do want to point out the APR target year, it does allow you to select different ranges. So we're in the current target year, so I'm going to keep it. Most of the time, that's what you're going to be doing. But if you're looking at older data, you're going to want to make sure you have the corresponding target year so that the targets for California are accurately reflected. So I'm going to click generate my report, and then the information will populate. And you can see on the left-hand side, we have the menu. So all those areas I said, oh, we can disaggregate in all these ways. You're going to navigate here on the left-hand side. The first page for the least restrictive environment is just going to offer you the big picture. But again, this is based on now. So if you have uploaded from your last certified CalPADS or you have uploaded data from the first day of the school year till now, that's what this is going to show you. So it's going to look a little bit different than what you see on the SPPI dashboard, which is the previous year's data. So you can see it's going to show you for 5A, 5B, and 5C. The blue line is the district, and then the gray line is the California target. So you can see here that our demo district is doing really well with their least restrictive environment. They are exceeding the students who have access to general education 80% or more. They are below here, students who who have access 40% or less, we want to be under that target. So the blue line shows that we are. And when you hover, it's going to give you the specific information, which is also really nice. So that gives you the overview. You can see the specific percentages and student counts up above. And then you have the information available in these disaggregated groups. So I'm going to explain these visualizations and just show you what's in there. And then, like I said, stop me with questions. So the first visualization that we have is the heat map. And the heat map shows you how many students are represented in each of these categories. And the darker the color, the more students who are represented there. So for example, when I look at students who have the primary disability code of speech language impairment, I see how many. There's 574. 93% of those students are accessing general education 80% or more of their school day. And that's why we have that in the darkest shade of blue, because we have a high representation there. And as we go down and we look at this is sort of the in-between range, the 40 to 79. So these students are not reflected in the A, B, or C. This is kind of the in-between group. When I look at students who are accessing less than 40% of the time, I can hover and it'll show me there's 23. And nobody with the primary disability code of SLI is in a separate setting. So like a non-public school or home hospital or something like that. Another feature that I like to make sure folks know it's available. Sometimes we're going to use it, sometimes not, depending on our context. But if you click one of these, it's actually going to generate the student list for you. So again, these are confidential data. That's why it's uploaded and specific to your district. But if you had a reason to wonder, hey, who are those specific students? It will show you the list. Now, these, of course, are demo students, so there aren't real names in here, but that information is also available. If you look scrolling down, we have another data visualization that's available, and these are the risk ratio graphs. So this is just another way of looking at the information, and the risk ratio lets you know what is essentially if you are at a lower or higher risk compared to the overall student group of being represented in one of these groups. So the black line that you see running vertically, that's a risk ratio of 1, and that's a neutral risk ratio. So students who are at a 1 are not more or less likely to be represented in one of these groups based on their disability code. Students who are below the risk ratio are underrepresented in the group. So for example, with this demo district, students who have a primary disability code of intellectual disability are 0.27 times likely, because it's under 1, to be in gen ed 80% or more. In other words, these students have less access to the general education environment. For the same student group, students with intellectual disability, they're 3.58 times more likely to be accessing gen ed 40% or less of their school day. The same group is 4.49 times more likely to be in a separate setting. These risk ratios, unless you do work in disproportionality, might be new to you. We have a sentence frame at the bottom that is really helpful for folks to just practice what exactly are these charts showing us. But we tend to look a lot at like when students are overrepresented in a group. So students with emotional disability as their primary label, they're 25 times more likely to be in a separate setting. I tend to want to look at these, like who's overrepresented, but don't negate the importance of looking at where folks might be underrepresented as well. That's another important thing for us to be looking at. So this was looking at this least restrictive environment information by primary disability code. And like I mentioned, the reports disaggregate in a variety of ways. So you could look at it by race and ethnicity. And again, we have the heat maps where the color coding shows us the level of representation. The darker the color, the higher the level of representation. And we have the risk ratios, which show us, again, the likelihood of being in an environment based on the category that we're looking at. The calculation formulas are available for most of these, and soon will be available for all of them. These are also available in that state performance plan indicator guide. Ashley showed you those one-pagers. They are also available there. It's nice to sometimes just have that to double check. Wait, how are we calculating this proportionality, or how are we calculating that parent involvement? So those are there and available. Sometimes if you're showing these data to a large group, those questions come up. And so it's nice to be able to point folks that way. I think I see something coming through in the chat. Oh, great. Ashley's showing you the SPPI guide. All right. Socioeconomic status, your schools, your grade levels, the genders, these are all available visualizations for you to look at for the reports that are available. Before I navigate us back to the slides, are there any questions, anything I can clarify, or anything folks want to see that they haven't seen yet on here? Okay, excellent. So like I said, you can run these reports with your current data. I'm just trying to get to the right monitor. I've got a rogue mouse here. And as you can see, there's so much available in each of those reports that to go through them with the team can take a long time. We certainly don't recommend looking at all of them all in one sitting, but they can generate a lot of really valuable conversation. They offer a view of what is going on in a district that folks maybe don't normally have access to. And so we feel it's a really powerful tool, and a really powerful tool in service of creating more equitable environments and access for students. And so I think that's why Ashley and I get so excited anytime we're asked to share about it, or anytime a new district is ready to access it and dive in. And so we do encourage you, if you haven't had a chance already, to try it out. And we also invite you to reach out to us at any time if you have questions or want support, and we will talk more about available resources and how you can get a hold of us to close it out. So I'm going to kick it back over to Ashley.
Thank you, Sarah, for that dive into the data drill down. That's super helpful. But as you walk away today, questions might come up later. You might need support. We actually had a live support question already on this call. So I'm going to show you how to submit a support ticket, as well as how to locate resources that will be really helpful for you when you are ready to access the IDC, any of the tools that we showed you today. So I'm going to share my screen again. And frequently asked question, how do I locate IDC resources? The good news is that there is a resource page on every one of the tools. So we showed you the State Performance Plan Indicator SPPI dashboard today. On there, up at the top of the page, you'll see resources listed. When you click on that, there's a list of resources that are specific to that dashboard. There are some videos, a video walkthrough, there's some handouts to help guide you with everything you need to know to analyze and access this tool. Similarly, there is a resource page on the data drill down as well. This is also really helpful. There's a list of resources for all areas that Sarah referenced today. There's a handout on how to upload data, how to activate, how to provide access, how to run reports, how to interpret reports. A lot of really good information there. And how do I get help with the IDC? we have a help button here. It's on every single page of all of the tools, the landing page, it's everywhere. So you're going to click on this help button and it's going to pop up a form to fill out to submit a support ticket. The information here that's really important and helpful for us in helping you: name, email, subject. So let's say it's, need to update the admin on the account. You would put that there. There's a drop down that would, you would select the area, data drill down, and then a short description, current admins who are listed, they're no longer with the district. We need this to be updated, and then you can submit that way. I'm going to really quickly, though, just do a little live guide for those help features before we close, because we have a minute to show you what that ticket looks like. So like I said, it's every page. So if you're on the landing page, you're on the dashboard, you're on one of the other tools, the LEA data drill down, you're going to click here, contact us, name, email, subject, and then you're going to pick the particular tool or area, and then that short description. Just want to show you on the SPPI dashboard what those resources look like so you can know what to expect. The SPPI guide that we referenced, that really helpful resource that gives information on each indicator, is on this resource page, as well as a video walkthrough. So let's say after today, you're like, how do I access this specific component? How do I get there? We have this walkthrough for you to reference. We also have some video modules on the state performance plan indicators. I find these to be really helpful when you are going to facilitate a conversation or like share this data with a team. It's helpful to start out with like, what is the data and where does it come from? We've got a video for introduction to SPPIs and also a video for each particular indicator. And then there's also information on how to download those annual performance reports from that dashboard as well. If we go back to our LEA data drill down, you will see there are a lot of resources to help you with a lot of things because there's a lot of components here. We have a video on how to upload the data. We have info on how to activate the account, how to provide access and upload data, what data files are needed, how to generate reports, how to interpret. There's also a protocol here to help you in if you're leading a conversation and analysis around looking at these snapshot reports, good facilitation tool. But as you can see, there's a lot of resources here to support you. I start here. If you have a question, obviously sometimes things come up where you need a little more support. That's where you want to submit the ticket. But I would highly encourage you to start with the resources to see if that can help you troubleshoot or answer your question to start. Before we move into some time for questions and our closing, are there any questions about resources or anything that you've heard so far? Feel free to drop that in the chat or unmute and I can pause. Okay. Go ahead and move into our closing and we'll reserve some time for questions. Please be sure, now that you have interacted with us, you've learned about this really great tool, the Improvement Data Center, stay in touch. So I shared our website, it's systemimprovement.org. That's where you can access that Improvement Data Center. Like I shared, there's a lot of other really good resources on the site. We gave you a little peek of the SPPI guide. We also have other professional learning opportunities. Everything is offered free of cost because we are a grant-funded project. Stay connected with us. These are our social media handles. Follow us to stay tuned for what's coming up. Also, any new resources we share as well. So stay tuned there. Oh, let me back that up. And if you're not on our listserv, please sign up on our website for that as well. And we'd love for you to stay in touch with us. But I'm going to stop my share here and see if we have questions. And again, we're small groups, so feel free to unmute, chat. Oh, I love that. Yeah, Troy says use this for SIGDIS. Yes, absolutely. There is a disproportionality snapshot report, which would be extremely helpful for work around SIGDIS.
Thank you so much, Ashley and Sarah, for sharing your information. I know we are frequently through TA helping districts to access these tools, and it's great to be able to show the impact of the implementation of their plans. So thank you for all of your resources and tools. And then we just want to let you know that our next Connect and Access, we will have Pathways to Partnership, another member of the statewide system of support in April joining. So please pass along that information, and we look forward to seeing you there. Also, feel free to contact us with any questions. And then last but not least, be sure to follow us on social media also. So you can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or X. But thank you again so much, Sarah and Ashley and System Improvement Leads. These tools are amazing. So we appreciate you coming to Connect and Access.
Thank you.